So the question is, if you have $100 a day, how would you split up between six of the main campaigns? Smart shopping, standard shopping, dynamic retargeting, competitors, brand, and dynamic search ads. It's interesting. I was going to type it out, but what I would say in the beginning is I would do $50 in smart shopping, and then I would do $10 standard shopping. Then I would do $5 dynamic remarketing, and then I would do $10 competitor, $10 brand, 15 dynamic search ads.
Will you repeat that?
Yep. So $50 for smart shopping, $10 for standard shopping, $5 for dynamic retargeting, $10 competitors, $10 brand, 15 dynamic search ads, and that should equal 100 if my math is right. The reason is because all of the other ones, smart shopping is going to be your main campaign for the longest. Everything else is going to be really exploratory without the safety net kind of thing. Smart shopping campaign is going to have kind of two safety nets. One's maximize conversion value, and then the safety net of maximize conversion value with a target return on ad spend. So with that target return on ad spend, you're not going to have that in the beginning, but maximize conversion value is going to be smart enough to not necessarily blow the budget out of the water with zero conversions for a long time. Standard shopping can. Dynamic retargeting, the reason why the dynamic retargeting is at $5 and not 10 is because that campaign is not going to be up and running in the beginning. If you're brand new to Google Ads, you're going to need at least 1,000 visitors to have dynamic retargeting start to be up and running fully. So that one we usually leave on $5 in the beginning, just because it's not going to run for possibly 2 weeks to 3 weeks, or maybe in a month, just depending upon. And this is using $100 per day. The competitors, again, you might have some competitors that are coming in, or competitive traffic that's coming in that is not necessarily quality just yet, so you don't want to blow too much of the budget. Brand, again, that's going to be for seeing the top conversion path and making sure your brand is protected from other competitors, plus just having your brand name to be obviously at the top. And then dynamic search ads, 15, because that one is going to be your second strongest campaign. If you want to have a search campaign, it's going to be either or. If you have a search and a dynamic, I would probably choose one or the other in the beginning with a $100 per day budget. If you have $200 or $300 a day, you can get a little more aggressive. But if you wanted to run all 6 of those and you have $100, that's how I'd break it up. I realize standard search is not included in this masterclass, like you briefly covered in 3x Shopify. Would you recommend not using standard search at all? Just use dynamic search instead? Well, sort of. So with e-commerce, DSA typically performs better than standard search. And that's specifically for e-commerce if you've kind of follow along the first 4 days. The reason why we ran standard search in 3x Shopify is because it is going to be a broad campaign. It'll be a little bit more of a sacrificial campaign to get smart shopping campaign up and running, and may not run as long as your smart shopping campaign. The DSA can run for a long time alongside of smart shopping. The smart shopping campaign was the focus on the 3x Shopify. The search was to get the smart shopping campaign up and running. We have, I think, 2 accounts where search outperforms smart shopping. And so in now DSA, though, it is probably the second best campaign to smart shopping for longevity, just because you have a little bit more of in terms of a wider audience. Now, you can take DSA and turn it into a search campaign by choosing the best search terms and place that into its own standards, or its own basically standard search campaign by looking at DSA as your learning campaign, figuring out what search terms perform best with consistency, and then place those into a search campaign. It's going to be dependent upon your attribution model. So if you're using first click, I'll give you an example here. This would be good here. So the last 14 days, as soon as Google, there we go. Come on, get to my campaign screen. There we go. have a credit card issue. Let's see here. So last 14 days, and then we're going to compare it to the previous 14 days. And here's what's interesting. This is how in-depth this gets when you're looking at attribution models and when you're looking at multi-campaigns running for e-commerce. This one here is my smart shopping campaign is going to be my main campaign. There's two other campaigns. We have a what we call Grateful Dead and Fishman Donut. These are two essentially bands. And you'll see that in the last 14 days, we have 80% more conversions and 24% more conversions. And this one had a better cart value, so the conversion value is higher. This one actually had less cart value, so the conversion value is a little bit lower. But these are the two campaigns that we started to focus on in this last 2 weeks. And so we added, if you look at this as Grateful Dead as an example, you'll see that the clicks in the last 14 days, we have a ton of keywords that never had any clicks before, and now all of a sudden are having clicks here. We added a bunch of keywords. And so while you see that there's conversions, 7, 4, 7, 5, 2, you'll see that in this last 14 days, because we only had these two here running before, that this is, this one here, Grateful Dead Apparel was the one that we had running before. It is getting less. Now, all this means is that from our two keywords that we had, this is going to be the broad keyword of apparel. We just kind of broke out all of the other search terms that were coming in so that those can get new conversions. Here's the interesting part though. This campaign is running on first click. So when we're running these search campaigns here, what you'll notice is that the smart shopping campaign spent 33% more and had 33% higher cost per conversion and only 15% more conversions here. And the ROAS actually dipped by 13%. Well, why? Because when we're running first click, the clicks are coming in on Grateful Dead and Fishman Donut. Smart shopping is remarketing to them. So this is using now smart shopping ad spend to remarket to these two Grateful Dead and Fishman Donut new users that are coming in with higher spends and newer keywords. But when they convert through smart shopping doesn't get the attribution. They don't get the conversion. The conversion is then given back to the Grateful Dead and Fishman Donut. If you're running first click, this is a paradigm that you might run into where you have another campaign like DSA or search that is going to start spending money. And the smart shopping is going to be remarketing to them, which is going to cost money. They're going to click and they're going to buy. So you're going to spend more money now. But with that spending more money, you're going to have a less ROAS because the attribution is going to be given back to this here, plus 57%, or plus here, the ROAS didn't go higher, but you can see they had 24% more conversions. Overall, though, my conversion value went from 58 up to 68. We made $10,000 more in the last 2 weeks. And that $10,000 more only cost us $2,800 more. So overall account is looking good. But the attribution, when you're looking at, should I run a search or run a DSA, you're going to have to take a very holistic approach in looking at, if I start spending money here and I start spending money here, is the performance dipping in smart shopping? No, it's just being used for remarketing to help the other two search campaigns that brought in those new users. So it's again, in masterclass, this is what we need to understand is what attribution model and what functions are each one of these campaigns performing, so that when that campaign function is performed properly and we start to make more money, it doesn't look like this is just spending more money here, 33% more, to lose, 63% ROAS. This is still above goal, which is good, but this is being the return on ad spend here is being sacrificed to gain more return on ad spend in these two campaigns here, if that makes sense. So looking at search versus DSA, both will perform well, just depending upon your account. Sometimes DSA outperforms search, sometimes search outperforms DSA. You can run both of them for a very long time, or you can run them both and share off between them. Just know that if you're going to run both and share off between them, be mindful of your attribution model. Because if DSA starts to bring in a whole bunch of traffic, and then your search campaign brings in a whole bunch of traffic, but the top conversion path shows that people are coming back through search because there's some branded that are coming back through there, that their search campaign might be spending more money and getting less conversions, but your DSA is spending less money and getting more conversions. So attribution model is something that is really, really overlooked for whatever reason, that they just think, well, oh no, we're spending more, we're losing money here. What's going on? This is that paradigm. Well, we're making more money here. This went from, negative 175 in conversion value up to 3,500 here. So it's a puzzle that you're putting together. And then if you're using last click, if you're using time decay, if you're using linear, you have to then apply those same rules. Where is the traffic going and how is it actually fluctuating? But overall, is the account making a better return? Let's see, is this a good percentage breakdown to stick to, or does it change if we spend more or less? It's a good breakdown. Now, the reason why I like to run, majority of the ad spend into smart shopping is because that's going to be your most powerful campaign. We looked at attribution and found out that of the last 7,500 conversions in section 119 over January 1st, the first click ever to the website came from smart shopping, because it is search with display selected and smart targeting. It's going out and finding those people. So what's nice about that is a campaign that doesn't have to rely solely on inbound traffic. It doesn't have to rely on someone going to Google, typing in something, and then searching competitors. It just relies on someone that's kind of looking at a few different websites or looking at YouTube videos, and then smart shopping found them. It's going to be your most powerful, most expansive campaign. So that one I always run at the highest amount. Usually half the budget, or sometimes more of the budget, is running to smart shopping. If you have 10,000 SKUs, I would say 80% in smart shopping and just run brand, because smart shopping with 8,000 SKUs, you're going to find 500 that are going to perform really well with a really lot of scale, and you don't need to give it less budget. If you have a lot fewer SKUs, maybe like 10, then you have to try other networks, because you might only have 4 of those 10 products in smart shopping be really expensive on one network, but there's a lot of demand somewhere else. We just don't know, and that's you have to test it. So I like to break down the other half of that money into all of those other campaigns, to tell smart shopping where these people are and where they work, but also to test them. We have sometimes competitive campaigns that outperform all of our other campaigns. I wouldn't know that until I tested it. Sometimes search campaigns outperform smart shopping. Wouldn't know until I tested it. Sometimes DSA performed at 90% efficiency. And let's say my smart shopping is 100% efficiency. The DSA is 90% efficiency. But again, I wouldn't know that until I tested it. I did an evaluation for a company 2 days ago, and they only had 2 products in their smart shopping campaign. They had 900 SKUs, only 2 products were approved because their GTINs were invalid for 898 other products. But in my evaluation, I said, you should probably run DSA as well. They came back to yesterday and said, hey, we launched DSA, and with a few clicks, we got 3 sales. We want to work with you guys. It was just because I mentioned that in an evaluation video. They actually tried it. They said, oh, okay, this company knows what they're talking about, and they are hiring us today. And that's just because you tested it. So testing everything, with exception of YouTube discovery and display. Don't test those for high ROAS and high conversion. Those are expansive campaigns. But everything else you want to test. It gives you a very rock solid overall account structure that lays a good foundation, a good cemented foundation to say, well, if I have 3 of these campaigns starting to function, you can scale those 3 campaigns. Even a small scale in Google is $1,000 a day. That's huge amount of ad spend if we're talking about small businesses. But you might find that 500 in smart shopping, and then 200 DSA, and 100 in search, and $50 in remarketing. All of a sudden, now that's a really good structure. I couldn't tell you any structure that's going to work for every company, but I know that a few of those will work. Most of the time, 95% of the time, smart shopping is the winner. But we want to test everything.
Works 100% of the time, 80% of the time.
100% of the time, I would say, yeah. How long does it take to get dynamic search ad to start? I launched one after yesterday. Yeah, so I would say on average it takes about 2 to 3 days. Google is going to look at, it scans your pages, starts watching traffic, and then starts to send traffic when it finds it. Now, especially in dynamic search ads, if you're running target CPA, it could take literally 3 to 5 days, because it's going to need to identify traffic, and then it's going to need to identify who in that traffic is going to purchase. Now, if it doesn't start to run after 5 days, increase your target CPA goal. Bring that up higher, because it could just be like, I'm just not sure if I can make 1 sale for $50. You might need to bring it up to 100, might need to bring it up to 200, 300. It doesn't mean you're going to get that. It just means that's where you're allowing it to start. I'm assuming if you do use a standard search campaign, you make whatever keywords you're targeting in that campaign, negative keywords in the DSA campaign. Not necessarily. There's keyword infighting that is going to happen between DSA and search all the time. Our recommendation is to use broad on search just because it's how Google's functioning anyway. If you try to use exact match, it's going to give you broad. It's just going to give you less broad. So what's interesting is, let me see if I can pull this up.
Just to clarify, John, when you say we recommend using broad, that's broad with smart bidding?
Broad with smart bidding, yeah.
Broad without smart bidding is just...
Broad without smart bidding is just, yeah, it's a waste.
Down the toilet.
Yeah, there's no what we call safety net. There we go. And that safety net, and this may take me just a second to find because it's a 33-minute review video. So the big commercialized printers that you see in Kinko's and all the other places, those big like $8,000 printers, they are running Google Ads and reach out to us for an evaluation. And what's interesting is you're going to have some what they call keyword infighting, and I'm going to have to mute this so I can find it. But if I can find it really quickly, so you'll see this here. Check this out. Direct to garment printer. Direct to garment printer is my ad preview and diagnosis keyword I'm testing. If you look at direct to garment printer, the exact same keyword, it says your ad group has a keyword that's a better match for the search. So what's that? How do you have a better match than the exact keyword that is going to be showing, even though there's two of them here that are showing up the same? So normally what you would have is, we're not showing your ad occasionally because of your budget. These two are matched. This one is just now being simply ignored. So what's going on is Google is actually taking the campaign performance, even if the keyword is not exactly matched to that keyword. If you have good campaign performance, that campaign will earn that search. So here's a good example. You have a broad keyword and you have a DSA running, and you have one keyword that is exactly matched to your broad keyword. But if DSA campaign's performing better, DSA will steal that search term, even if they're exact or even if the phrase. So Google says, well, if I give it to that campaign, it might not perform, but if I give it to that campaign, it can perform. Why? Well, what is your bidding strategies on both campaigns? What is your attribution model? All of those things taken into consideration that Google says it's not keyword based anymore. Google basically just says, well, even though this keyword was do better over here, this one's got twice as much conversion rates. So when you start to add negatives, all you're really doing is taking the functionality away from having that campaign perform better with that keyword, because it should have given to that keyword because you have a better conversion rate. Why? I don't know. It's just that's how Google is functioning now. So why we recommend broad is because Google's phrase match and exact match, they just don't care. They just give it to you broad anyway, but they give it to the campaign that's best performing. So when you run two side by side, you're going to share some keywords. And what you'll find out is over time, the search campaign might have keywords that are not performing well, but your DSA campaign, it does perform well. So you'll just want to pause that keyword and you'll let the ad spend function in the other keywords that are not overlapping. It's completely the opposite of everything that we've known inside of Google for years. It's just functioning that way. So even exact matches are not exact matches. All right, let's go to the next question.
Dylan, speaking of campaigns starting, will brand pretty much not start until my newest brands start getting quite a bit of traction?
Yeah, and your brand campaign might show low search volume. It will pick up as soon as there's brand traffic that does arrive there. But if you wanted to start brand at 5, just to give the other $5 reallocated to another campaign, that's good use. Even running it at $2 is fine. What you don't want to do is run it too low that you can't earn a click that day. Like, I have a $2 budget and my cost per click came in at $2.10, so I just didn't get a click. You'll never know that because you didn't give enough budget to actually earn the click first and say, oh, it's starting. So just make sure you don't set it too low.
Usama, is there any rule to adding more products to your smart shopping campaign while it's running, newer campaigns in particular?
Nope, you can add new products. I think we touched upon this yesterday. You can add a new product to a campaign. Just know that if that product has a lot of search volume and is super popular, but also super competitive, it's going to eat up some of that budget and you may not earn the conversion. So if you have it where you're like, yeah, it's an established product that's been around for 10 years and I'm selling it now to you, it's pretty safe. But if it's something like, let's say, some new trend came out, like remember the black mask that came out where it's like that black mask that people peel off their faces. Everybody and their sister was selling those
Oh
things.
yeah, black tar masks.
Yeah, everybody. You couldn't throw a rock and not see those things on every social media and shopping and YouTube campaign. So, and then everyone's selling them for like free plus shipping, and other people are trying to sell them for $20. You get people that search that. As an example, just as a side note, there was a TikTok video that came out that got 1 million likes. That was Google's ad settings, adsettings.google.com. One day, the internet just blew up for that search term, and we spent like $600 on a search term because it was broadly matched to ads, Google ads, adsettings.google.com. And it was a TikTok video that says, hey, here's what Google knows about you. And it showed you all of the settings. Well, all of a sudden I'm like, what the heck is this? I had like 30 search terms for. We spent $600 in one day to add that as a negative really, really quickly. But again, that blew my budget, and then my campaign stopped that day because of a TikTok video. So just know that higher popularity items might spend the budget, might eat up the budget. And if you let Google work its magic, in about 2 weeks, that'll kind of go away. But just know that that could happen. So just be mindful of what you're adding. Cool. I'm just starting to have days where I get one-off searches for it. Hashtag patience. Yeah.
Question, Ollie, for new brands, timing wise, which campaign should we launch first?
All of them. Yeah. Just launch all of the campaigns except for display, YouTube, and discovery. Those are going to be expansive campaigns. I'll share that with you. Yeah, I saw that on TikTok. The comment section was interesting. Yeah, exactly. So that's just be mindful. That's where that kind of comes into play.